Cure for Wellness, directed by Gore Verbinski, who has a pretty colorful repertoire of films. He did the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Rango, The Lone Ranger, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, The Ring, and Mouse Hunt, all of which are very different from each other. Add this one into the mix, and I really have no idea what Gore Verbinski is doing. But I do like most of those movies, so he's doing it right, whatever it is. But needless to say, I didn't really know what to expect from this movie because of all of the random things he's made. And to be honest, it took me a really long time to figure out how to review this movie because the second I walked out of the theater, I was just kind of confused and I had a lot of feelings and I was just trying to figure out exactly what I had just watched. So A Cure for Wellness stars Dane DeHaan, and he's playing a young executive businessman guy, and he's sent to this spa in Switzerland to retrieve the CEO of his company because they're in some deep shit and they need him back. And that in itself sounds pretty boring, but shit gets kinda crazy. So he goes to the spa to try and find the CEO, and all this crazy shit starts happening. It's like an insane asylum, it's not really a spa. They're trying to cure these people who are apparently diseased, but they never really say what's wrong with them, and nobody really seems to know what's wrong with them. So this guy goes and he's like, what the fuck is happening? And the people who work there, including the head doctor named Vollmer, played by Jason Isaacs, and to be honest, I really just cannot see him as anyone other than Lucius Malfoy. And just to be clear, I would take Lucius Malfoy over this guy any day. This guy makes Lucius Malfoy look like the nicest, sweetest, cutest little peach. Because he's real fucked up. But essentially this kid is trying to receive his CEO, and instead the doctors are trying to admit him into this asylum, and there's this whole thing about the place where it's like people who come here never leave. And it's very spooky and creepy and a lot of weird shit happens. Now if I were to describe this movie to you in the best way that I can, here's how I would do it. Imagine Shutter Island, directed by Wes Anderson, maybe a little help from Zack Snyder, and written by like a 23-year-old kind of drunk M. Night Shyamalan. That's this movie. It's a lot to take in. And there were some parts of it that I loved, like truly loved. And then there are some parts of it that I really hate. So I'm feeling really conflicted about this review, and it took me a really long time to figure out exactly how I was going to review this, and I think the best way to do it is to just break it down into parts. So first I'm going to start with the visuals, because visually this movie is beautiful. Like the cinematography here is amazing, astounding. It was so good the entire way through from beginning to end. And it's one of the reasons I really wanted to see this movie because in the trailer it looks amazing and it really checks out. Like visually it's very, very cool. So visuals I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. The plot, however, was not very impressive, and it took me a while to figure this out because at first when I saw the movie I was like, wow, that was really complicated, really complex, it had a lot of layers, it was really interesting. But when you peel back the layers and you just get to like the base of the plot, it's pretty much been done before and it's not very unique. Aside from the fact that there's a lot of mind games being played and a lot of perspective shifts and manipulation of like the viewer watching it, the plot itself, if you were just to see it from an all-knowing perspective, is pretty bland at best. So I'm going to give it a 2. The acting I think was pretty good. Dane DeHaan I really liked. He was really good at being this just like confused and angry young guy. Jason Isaacs was really amazing. Like I love him. He was super good at being just really disturbing. Mia Goth, who plays this little girl Hannah, was also really good. She was really good at just being creepy and kind of this like innocent doll-like person. So overall I was pretty impressed with the acting. I'd give it like a 4. The next category I want to talk about is execution, because like I said, the plot was like not very interesting, but there were a lot of things thrown into it to make it interesting. And I feel like there was a really cool concept here and it really could have been way more amazing than it was if it was executed better. Because unfortunately there's this line of being completely on the page, you totally understand everything, and then there's the I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Here's the I don't know what the fuck is going on point. The movie is like right there, right there. So like you kind of pick up most of it, but there are a lot of moments where you're just like, I really have no idea what's going on. And it lasts for so long that after like 2 hours, you're just like, I don't really care anymore because I still don't know what's going on. So for that, I'm giving it a 1, and that kind of rolls right into my next category, which is pacing. And the pacing, I'm given a big fat 0, because this movie is unbelievably long. It is 2.5 hours, of mindfuckery, and you don't even really understand anything until the end. And even when you get it, you still don't really get it. And you just keep thinking that you're gonna figure something out, or whenever you think you did figure something out, it turns out to not be true, and it just drags on and on and on, and there's so many things that are going on, and your brain just can't keep up with it, and it's just, the pacing is just terrible in this movie. It's just so bad. I honestly feel like a lot of things could have just been cut. I mean, it's 2.5 hours. That is way too long for this kind of movie. However, my last category is the experience. And I've got to say, the experience of watching this movie, despite everything I just said, was very good. Because visually it was stunning, it was really interesting to watch, but most importantly, the entire movie from beginning to end, my mind was just constantly working. I was constantly thinking, I was constantly guessing, and this is a movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat and just keeps you guessing. I really enjoy mysteries, so trying to figure out exactly what was going on was pretty fun for me, and constantly getting clues and just little pieces and trying to put it all together was pretty enjoyable for me. I liked it. It did kind of drag near the end when I was starting to get to the point where I just didn't really care anymore because it was taking so long to get there. And when you do get there, it's kind of rewarding because you're like, I kind of figured this out. And so because of that, it was pretty fun. It was pretty enjoyable to try and figure out the whole movie. So because of that, I am giving the experience a 5. However, I don't think I would want to watch this movie again because here's the thing. There's a lot of weird shit that goes on and you're constantly trying to figure it out, and a lot of it doesn't really make sense until you've seen the entire movie. So it would probably be a lot better if I went back and I watched the whole thing again. A lot of it would make a lot more sense. But it's just so long that I just don't have the interest in watching it again. It'll probably be better a second time around, but I just don't care enough to do that. That's pretty much the gist of how this movie makes me feel. So let's tally up all those numbers. Visuals 5, plot 2, execution 1, experience 5, acting 4, pacing 0. So add those up, calculate the average. We're gonna give it about a 2.5. Right there in the middle, pretty much how I feel about this movie. I am very skewed. I'm like very far on the this was really cool movie and very far on the this movie was terrible. So let's just meet in the middle. I really kind of do want to watch this movie again and see if it's any better the second time, but I feel like it would just be worse because I wouldn't even be guessing anymore. It would probably be a lot worse, actually. The only enjoyable thing about this movie was the experience and the visuals, which I guess is part of the experience. So yeah, there's my review of A Cure for Wellness. Let me know in the comments below if you saw it and what you thought about it. This movie is definitely a movie that I want to talk about. Like, all I want to do is discuss this and try and figure out what other people think about it, and like, I feel like the reviews for this movie are very skewed. It's either really, really, really bad or really, really, really good, which is really interesting to me. So definitely let me know what you thought about this movie. I would love to talk about it. I might make a spoiler review. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know in the comments. Until next time, I'm Subkoza, and this is Rated N. Bye!